Hi, this is Rita with Turner Services. Are your parents available? Do you get these calls? I do, and I hate them. Telemarketing is one of my biggest pet peeves because it is annoying and unnecessary. It never seems to fail. Telemarketers will call you at the worst times, whether it's a Saturday morning and you finally get a chance to sleep in, or during dinner time. Sometimes I'll finally have a day where I don't have to do anything after school. I'll sit down on the couch and the phone will ring. And lo and behold, it's a salesperson. Another thing that drives me crazy is that they can never say my name right. It's always, is Mr. and Mrs. McLaren there? Hello, if you're going to call me at home on my spare time, then you can at least pronounce my last name correctly. They also never seem to have courtesy. Most of the time, I'll just hang up on them as soon as they get my name out. And some of them are obtuse enough to think that, oh, maybe the connection was lost, and they'll call back again, just to have me hang up on them once more. Telemarketing is unnecessary and ineffective, and I'm glad that the government has realized that. Because of the new law passed in January, my house is now telemarketer free.
Positive comments.
Good introduction, give an example of what actually the pet peeve is.
Okay, Jim.
Flowed really well.
Okay, very cool. Kate.
She seemed passionate about her subject.
Oh, it's very well organized.
Okay, Ellen.
She has a voice tone, it's very listening at
Okay, Dave.
The audience could relate.
Okay. Yes,
She had prepared well.
I think so. All right. What has she done to make it even better?
Slow down just a tad.
Okay,
A little bit. That was my comment.
Slow it down a little bit. Sarah?
Use some hand gestures.
Okay.
Be just a little bit louder.
Project? Yes.
Maybe like make it more of a personal thing than just like, I don't know, I kind of felt she was like speaking past me. For me.
Okay, suggestion on how she could change that?
Like, I don't know. Sorry, never mind.
That's okay, I just want to make sure I understand. I mean, because we are all going to be her audience, and to be more effective, then it would be helpful to have.
She was maybe talking about her the general
Like it was
idea
like,
instead of.
well, it was like really, you know, it's really good, but like really, I don't know, I don't want to say planned because that was good.
I know what she's saying.
I don't know how to say
I'm
it.
still not real clear.
More,
Like it wasn't
I mean, yeah,
Put you on
like
the
when
spot.
people said like, good job being conversational, you know, like you, like
Yeah.
I was talking to you like this.
Oh, okay, you
That.
felt that she should have been more conversational.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. We're there.
Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
Okay, thanks, Brad. That's nice. I felt that the organization of her speech was well planned out. And you can see how effective that can be. If you just think about the organization instead of just getting up and talking and sitting back down, you've seen the difference. Okay. Allison.
Go Allison! Woo!
Have you ever imagined what your life would be like if your parents harmed you intentionally every single day? Imagine you get home from school to be a victim of child abuse. Instead of your mother greeting you with a kiss on the cheek or a "Hi honey, how was your day?" she throws you up against the wall. She forces you to drink ammonia, which you know right there could kill you. She then takes the kitchen knife and she stabs you. Not killing you, just so that you suffer, so that she has something to take her anger out on. Imagine being called it, or boy, or girl, not by your own name, because you don't deserve a name. You're not worth it. And you don't get a bedroom. No, you get to sleep in the garage, on a cot. You're treated worse than a dog. Encyclopedia Americana states that in the U.S. alone, about 300 cases of physical abuse per 1 million people are reported each year. About the same amount are reported for neglect. Today I'm going to tell you about child abuse, what it consists of, and how to detect it in a child. The child I was just describing to you that had to drink ammonia and got thrown back in the wall was David Pelzer, who is the author of The Child Called It trilogy. I'm going to use him throughout my speech. There are many types of abuse. What do you think of when you hear the word child abuse? Do you think of children just being beat up, cuts, bruises? Well, it's more than that. Child abuse is defined as physical or emotional harm to children caused by their parents or guardians. There are 4 types of abuse. There's physical, sexual, verbal, and neglect. Physical is the one that most people are aware of, which is when the parent will harm their child physically. They'll do this by cutting them, burning them, scraping them, anything like that. The second one is sexual, and that's when the parent will overstep the physical intimacy boundaries between a parent and child. This can also include child pornography. The third one, verbal, is when the parent will put the child down verbally and make them feel like they're less than what they are. And the fourth one, neglect, is when the parent does not provide the child with the basic essentials that a child needs, such as clothing or food. Also, they will not give them the attention that they deserve. David Pelzer, the author I told you about, had 3 of these. He suffered physical abuse from his mother, verbal abuse by being called it or boy, and neglect. These, however, do coincide with each other. There are 4 different types, but many times they accompany each other. For example, if you're abused physically, it usually harms you emotionally, just like verbal abuse. And many times if you're abused physically, you are neglected because the parent does not rush you to the hospital to take care of your wounds. There are more than just the immediate effects of child abuse. There are also long-term effects. Child's Voice Institute states that children who are abused are subject to emotional, behavioral, and academic problems. They'll have feelings of guilt, violation, and lower self-esteem. Many times, children that are abused will express themselves through different ways, sometimes misbehaving in school, acting irrationally, sometimes even through drawing. I made a poster that has different drawings of abused children, drawings that they drew. This one is a self-portrait of a 7-year-old who was a victim of child abuse, and it shows her kind of biting her nails. She looks scared, and the psychologists say that she's scared of her mother. This is a self-portrait by an adolescent. It's just scribbled because he sees himself as less than a person because of his abuse. This one, a girl is saying that she's the eye inside of the middle of a snake, which symbolizes that she feels trapped within a family situation. Lastly, the children at school were asked to draw something, how they felt. She just painted a bunch of colors, and she titled it Rage. Children's Voice Institute says that this will affect them for the rest of their life. Children that are abused are likely to continue or create the cycle of violence when they're adults. They usually accompany pain with intimacy, and often many times later on they will go to abuse substances or go into a depression. David Pelzer, the author, still felt the effects. He could not make close relationships with people, and he had trouble continuing relationships because he did not want them to know about his past and fear that they would reject him. There are several ways to detect child abuse. After 1967, all states were required to have professionals report cases, such as doctors or teachers. Have you ever seen a victim of abuse? Well, it's not just physical injuries that you'll recognize. There's often behavioral changes, and if they isolate themselves from others, they don't want relationships. Also by their drawings, which many times teachers will realize in elementary schools. Even clothing. For example, if they're wearing a sweatshirt and long pants when it's 90 degrees, they may be covering up some bruising or scrapes from their parents. Another one is malnutrition. Encyclopedia Americana states that many infants come into hospitals malnourished because the parents are neglectful and they don't feed them. To conclude, what does this all mean? Well, child abuse is dangerous, and it appears in many different types and forms. Maybe you're the child that is being forced to drink ammonia or being thrown against the wall. As David Pelzer says, there are still times when I am overwhelmed by immense feelings of hollowness, guilt, and fear of anyone becoming too close to me. It is something I have to face on a daily basis. Thank you.
comments?
I think she talks at a very good rate. I could
Okay.
She had a really appropriate tone and demeanor for her topic.
Okay, that's what I wrote down. Kate? You could tell she really cared about her. Okay, yes, David.
She kept referring to the same author throughout the whole story, so kind of tied it all together.
Okay. Brandon?
Her introduction was very powerful and definitely got everybody's attention.
I think so. Sarah?
Her visual aid portrayed what she was trying to show us or give examples.
I definitely supported what her message was, Jade.
You could tell she knew a lot about her subject.
Okay, well prepared. What could she have done to make it even better?
Maybe a more confident stance.
Okay. So,
Just a few more hand gestures.
okay, bring
Maybe
them up.
above, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
Bring
not
them up.
any more, but just above.
Maybe a little more inflection of the voice. She seemed like pretty serious the whole time.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay, very nice. Thank you
Good
very
job.
much.
And hello, class of 2002. We have finally made it. After 13 years of school, we have finally earned what we have dreamed about for years, our diploma. Whoever knew that it would come this quickly? I, for one, never thought this day would come. But it's here now, and we'll never be able to repeat it again, just like the past 13 years. I'm sure that for some of us, there are years that we wish we could do over again. And I'm sure there are other years that we don't even want to remember. But it's all over now, and we have the future ahead of us. It's ours to use as we please. Like a butterfly, we started out having everything provided for us. When we were young, our parents fed us, dressed us, and provided shelter for us. Just as a cocoon provides shelter and food for a caterpillar. But as every butterfly does, we are breaking out of our cocoon, and we're ready to face the world. For each 100 eggs that a butterfly lays, only 2 of them survive to become butterflies. Thank goodness our mortality rate isn't that high. But like butterflies, we are going to be going out into the world and facing challenges by ourselves. Our parents and teachers won't be by our sides to protect us. Caterpillars aren't born knowing how to fly. They have to learn after they get their wings. Looking towards the future, we will be faced with challenges. And like butterflies, we will be learning how to face them as each day comes. We cannot, however, let these challenges paralyze us, but instead to build us up. Obstacles are defined as one that opposes, stands in the way, or holds up progress. Now, this one that opposes can be a person, it can be a situation, or it can even be yourself. Now, I want you to think of a difficult time that you've had in the past. Did you overcome it? Or is it still defeating you to this day? Many people are going through so many obstacles right now, especially after September 11th. Maybe you struggled in a class, had a relative die, or were seriously injured or sick. Helen Keller states, although the world is full of suffering, it is also full of the overcoming it. How true that is. We hear so many stories because of September 11th and the World Trade Center. So many loved ones were lost, and so many families are having to get over this. There's a story in the Chicken Soup for the Soul book about a basketball player. He was 15 years old, his name was Chris, and he was riding in a car with 4 of his friends, and they slid on some ice, their car, and it went out of control. 3 of them were catapulted from the car. 1 died, 1 was seriously injured, and Chris was found sitting in the middle of the road on the median. His left thigh was gushing blood, and his left leg was found 20 feet away, severed through a guard cable. Now, Chris, he was in love with the game of basketball. He was one of the best on his team. As a freshman, he was on the JV team, and he had a 41-point average. Now, I don't know much about basketball, but I figure that is pretty good. Now, the doctors tried 3 surgeries to reattach his leg, but they couldn't because of the nerves. Chris was overwhelmed with sadness that he could not play the game that he loved, the game that he had lived for. However, after a while, he decided that he wasn't going to let that stop him. So he began to go out on his driveway and practice. Many times he'd fall flat on his face on the asphalt, but he would just get up and try again. After a few months, the doctors decided to attach a prosthetic leg on. Thinking this would make it easier, he started practicing more, only to find out that it was even a bigger challenge since he wasn't used to this leg. He first gave up, was just sad, and just watched the basketball games when he went to school. But sure enough, he missed the game, and he was not going to be defeated. He went out there on the driveway again and began to practice. He worked out every single day so that he would get used to his new leg. It often gave him blisters and a lot of pain, but he never gave up. By the end of the season, he was playing again, and he was the team's captain. He made a lot of baskets, and his school was very supportive of him. Even when his parents and his doctors did not believe in him, he still overcame that obstacle. There's a poem I found online titled "Don't Quit." When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile, but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. Life is queer with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns, and many a fellow turns about when he might have won had he stuck it out. Don't give up, though the pace seems slow. You may succeed with another blow. Success is failure, turned inside out, the silver tent of the clouds of doubt, and when you can never tell how close you are, it may be near when it seems afar. So stick to the fight when your heart is hit. It's when things seem worse that you must not quit. Now, there's also another story about a lady named Bethany Murphy. She's a mother of 2 and a wife. About 14 years ago, she was diagnosed with melanoma, skin cancer. She overcame that and was in remission. However, the year 2000, it came back again. She had to fight it again. Things were going well, and then September 11th, when her husband was working in the World Trade Center, he was killed. She did not let this defeat her, though. She had to explain to her kids the tragedy, but she decided that she had to be strong for them. She had to go on. And she did. Every day she says it's tough and stressful. But she just got back from a trip at Disney World, and her and her kids have decided to move on. As David Pelzer, author of The Child Called It series, states, "No one takes anything away from us unless we give up on ourselves first." He's saying that situations or people that try to stand in our way aren't going to keep us from our goals. It's ourselves that can do that. I want to encourage you not to let anything or anyone keep you from your goals. You are worth the effort. You will not regret your effort. And we all have it in us to succeed in overcoming the obstacles. We just have to face the challenge. Our world is constantly changing, and even though we have come so far, we still have further to go. We still have places to see and goals to accomplish. No, the road might not be easy, but what fun would life be without its little challenges? Maybe we won't get hired after our first interview, or we'll have an impossibly difficult class in college. Each one of us can overcome these obstacles. A friend once told me, don't look at obstacles as a roadblock, but instead look at them as speed bumps. Such words have never been so true. As the future awaits us, it will be preparing little speed bumps to slow us down, but never will they be roadblocks if we don't let them. Life will be full of lessons that our teachers and parents have worked to prepare us for, but if we are willing to face them, then we can defeat them. We have tools. Now we must use them. So class of 2002, I hope that you will join me as we break out and into the world. We have gotten our wings to fly, and now we must learn how to use them, no matter what the circumstances are. Thank you.
Positive comments.
I thought the butterfly analogy was very good. Gives the visualization.
I thought the content was good and that you used a lot of representative examples and it all just flowed together really well.
Matt?
Very fluent speech.
Kate?
It was organized very well.
Peter?
She looks sharp.
Lane?
I thought you cited your sources
resources well, so that when you were giving your speech, you didn't like stumble over them. So it was very fluent.
Anything she could have done to make it even better?
I think maybe she could have talked a little bit louder.
I know that, oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
With the poem, I had the same problem, like I didn't know how to memorize it because it was so long and it rhymed, but maybe just memorize the poem a little bit more. The one that rhymed in the middle.
Peter?
You better not.
Hey now.
Hey, Matt. Throw me one then.
Mandy,
Okay, let's go.
whenever you're ready.
Hey, put it away.
Go ahead.
Shut up, people.
I apologize.
On your desk. Okay. How many are currently or have taken any medications? Well, most of us have relied on medication at some point in our lives. Many of us, though, are not aware of the process that a medication must go through before it can be released to the public. One of the steps in this process is animal testing. Now, many are against animal testing altogether and think that it should be banned. However, most are not aware of the benefits that we do receive from animal testing. Until the early 1900s, the cause for diabetes was unknown. The only thing they knew to do for the afflicted person was to put them on the starvation diet, which was to not feed them at all. Now, these people only lasted until their early childhood, but they found that the starvation diet did keep them alive longer than if they did allow them to eat. Then, in the early 1900s, scientists began to learn more about the pancreas and its role, so then they began to inject insulin in diabetic beagles. The results were amazing. After they adjusted the amounts of insulin, the beagles began to improve and they were able to lead normal and healthy lives as far as dogs go. I know that I am eternally grateful for this research with animals for diabetics, or I might not know Peter Block right now. Some of you may have relatives that have experienced cancer, heart problems, or even organ transplants. Well, all of these are made possible through animal testing. Because of the 20 million animals tested each year, we are able to receive benefits for diseases and learn more about procedures that we can use for the future. There are 400 million animals killed on the highway each year, 5 million dogs and cats put down in shelters, 5 billion animals killed for food. So the 20 million dogs and cats that are killed each year really isn't that large of a number. Many question the ethics and the treatment involved in animal testing. But today, my goal is to show you that animal testing is necessary for medical research and that currently it is the best solution for new medication. Now let's examine the role of animal testing. In the 1930s, a new antibiotic was released to the public for children. It was for upper respiratory infection. Now back then, animal testing was not required by the FDA, so this medicine had not been tested on animals. A few months after the medication had been released, it was found that 100 children died that had been on this medication. Because of this, the FDA then established a guideline that all medications must be tested on animals first. Now, I'm almost positive that every single one of us in here has had some kind of vaccine, or they wouldn't have let us in school. Did you trust that this vaccine would protect you from its targeted disease? Well, all of these vaccines, before being used on humans, were developed through the use of animal research. In the 1960s, a medicine in Europe was released called thalidomide. This was for pregnant women, and it was to help them with their morning sickness. This chemical had only been tested on rodents before it was released to the public, and no side effects showed up for the rodents. Well, mothers began to have babies that had birth defects. Scientists were confused, so they took this medicine back and started to test it on dogs. Well, puppies showed up and they had birth defects. For some reason, this compound affected rodents, or did not affect rodents, but it affected non-rodents. Because of this, the FDA then required that chemicals be tested on one rodent and one non-rodent. Other advancements through medical research are treatments for anthrax, which have been used a lot recently, anesthesia, treatment for smallpox, the different treatments for cancer, and even medicines for animals. Yes, when animals are tested, it's also helping their own kind. Computers and people cannot currently fill the void left if animals are not used for research. Scientists still do not know enough about the body and its receptors to chemicals to make complex enough computer systems that could even compare to human or an animal. Also, compounds must be tested on living tissues and in living systems to find all of the side effects. A computer right now cannot be programmed to have all of the body's receptors, and if they just relied on computers, they would probably be missing out on a lot of side effects that a human could get. Also, there would not be enough human volunteers to try brand new medications that weren't tested first. Many people do not want to take that risk, to risk their life for a medicine for a sinus infection or something. Now, there have been medications that were not tested on animals. These are known as your herbal supplements. Supplements are not tested, and that's why they are not FDA approved. Now, many of us do use supplements, and they have been found to be beneficial. However, we are still not aware of a lot of their long-term effects or side effects. Now, there's a popular supplement out there called Kava Kava that has recently been found to be producing liver damage in people. This was just on the news about last week. Doctors said we're not aware of this because this medication had never been tested on anything besides humans when they began to take it. Many makeup companies and shampoo and soaps, things like that, claim that they do not use animal testing. Well, while they might not have used their product on an animal, it's because the compound in their product has already been tested. After a compound is tested, the FDA will put it on their approved compound list, and therefore, if a company wants to make a new kind of makeup, they can look at that compound list, know they can use that compound and that it's safe, and therefore they do not have to test it again on animals. Before releasing a medication to the public, there is a long process that it must first go through. Scientists want to be as sure as they can that their medication will help and not hurt people. It takes approximately 8.5 years and $359 million to develop a new drug. First, they have to attain a candidate molecule. Now, an example of this is with aspirin. They looked at the willow branch and saw that it had, for some reason, it helped people with pain. So that's how they. What is one of your most popular types of cookies? Well, chocolate chip cookies. They can be used for anything from parties to after-school snack, even in ice cream. They're also used as cookie cakes, and some even eat cookie dough. Yes, people will risk salmonella just so they can get their mouth around that sweet gooey dough. Now, I want you to imagine with me that you just got home from school, and you go to the cookie jar, and to your horror, it's empty. What do? No, you don't call Mom. You make them yourself. So how do you make them? Well, that's what I'm going to show you today. I'm going to show you how to make them, and then we're going to eat some. First are the ingredients, and you're going to need 3/4 a cup of brown sugar, a 1/2 cup of sugar, a stick of margarine or butter, and then a 1/2 cup of shortening, a 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla, 1 egg, 1 3/4 cup of flour, your 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt, which I just have mixed together in here for sake of time, and then your cup of chocolate chips. And the chocolate chips are my favorite part of it, and some interesting facts I found about chocolates are that U.S. consumers eat, on average, about 2.8 billion pounds of chocolate. But, that may sound kind of gross to you, but it has proven that chocolate can be good for you. So listen up, girls. Chocolate has been proven to help lower the risk of coronary disease. And according to the Women's Health, chocolate contains flavonoids which dilate your blood vessels, therefore making blood flow easier to get to the heart. Also, chocolate even helps improve your mood because it contains serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter that can, if you don't have enough of it, you will have depression, or it can help prevent depression. Also, chocolate has vitamins and minerals such as potassium, calcium, iron, vitamin D, and vitamin E. Another fun fact is that chocolate syrup was used for blood in the famous shower scene in the movie Psycho, in the original one, since it was black and white. Okay, now that you know the main ingredients and the benefits of chocolate, let's look at how to make chocolate chip cookies. First, you need to preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And this is so that your cookies will bake evenly. Next, you need to combine what Mrs. Ziemba would call your wet ingredients. And this is your sugars, your margarine, shortening, vanilla, and eggs. So I'll just go ahead and put my brown sugar in, then my granulated sugar, and my margarine, which you want it softened, or you can even have it melted, and the shortening, and then the vanilla, and lastly your egg. You first want to stir these. It would probably be better to use a blender, but for the sake of time, I probably am not even going to stir it up that well. And after that's blended well, then you will add in your dry ingredients, which is your flour, your baking soda, and your salt. And as people have recommended to you before, you want to do a little bit of flour at a time, otherwise you're going to end up getting it all over the house, which is what I did yesterday. And this, I don't recommend using an electric mixer. You can, but might as well just stir it in slowly as you add it. Here's the rest of it. And then after the flour is all mixed in, and it's not, you don't want it lumpy because the margarine will kind of lump together, you can add your baking soda and salt. Stir that in. Then after you get just a creamy colored dough, you can add in your chocolate chips. And most recipes call for 2 cups, but for some reason the recipe I used just called for 1. So I prefer more chocolate though, so. And then you have to stir that in, and you probably wouldn't want to use a mixer for this either. After you're done stirring, for the sake of time I'm not going to be able to stir it all up, your dough should look like this. And after it's like that, then you can start putting it in teaspoon-sized balls. You can just use a spoon. And this has been refrigerated, so it's kind of hard, but you just kind of put it in a ball, and then you put it on an ungreased cookie sheet. You don't need to grease it because you already have shortening and margarine on your cookies, and they'll be really gross and greasy if you do that. And you can usually fit about 3 in a row, and I usually do 4 rows, so you can fit a dozen on one pan. And then you want to put it in the oven for about 8 to 10 minutes, depending how soft or crispy you like your cookies. So I'll just stick that in the oven, and that should be full of it. So when you get home from school and the cookie jar is empty, I hope that you'll be able to make these cookies for yourself and not have to rely on Mom. To quickly review, you need to add your sugars, your margarine, your shortening, your vanilla, your egg, your flour, your salt, and baking soda. You need to mix it, then you need to put it in the oven after it's been preheated at 375 for 8 to 10 minutes. Chocolate chip cookies are great to eat, and they have chocolate, which can be healthy. A study conducted at Harvard found that male graduates that ate chocolate for 1 year lived for 1 year longer than the graduates that didn't eat chocolate. So make the chocolate chip cookies and remind your friends and family that you're just doing it for health reasons. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent job. There are so many positive things that we could say. The list would go on and on, but we have to go outside.
There's no.
Do you have cookies?
Yeah.
Do you want everyone to, you guys to all grab a cookie?